welcome to Rapping with Rosemary. I'm your host, Rosemary Lanier. Particularly this past month, I've been thinking about the upcoming second anniversary of the attacks on 9/11 in our country, and wondering what might be a good way to really honor the people whose lives were lost and the families who suffered the grief of that day throughout the world. And looking also at some of the things our country has done, which I would not have chosen that path myself. And I've been impressed by a group of family members and friends of people who were killed on that day. And they're September 11th Families for Peaceful Tomorrows. And as my guest here, I have tonight Andrea LeBlanc, whose husband died in one of the crashes at the World Trade Center, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. Welcome, Andrea.
Thanks.
And it's a difficult subject, I think. Even after 2 years, some people think people ought to get over things, but I don't think. I think 2 years is awful short, particularly for people who've lost loved ones in such a dramatic, tragic way. And I don't know what your initial reactions were, and I know it took you, I'm sure, a while to process through the feelings that you were going through, but you were looking for something and eventually came across this group. Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a little bit about your path to finding the group and why you found some connection with members of that group?
I didn't discover September 11th Families for Peaceful Tomorrows. We refer to each other, we shorten it to Peaceful Tomorrows, until December last year, so well into almost, well, they formed officially on Valentine's Day, a year and a half ago. And I heard about them through a friend who emailed me and said, "You do know about Peaceful Tomorrows, don't you?" No. So I contacted them, and as it turned out, it was the beginning of the year, and a group, 4 women, or was it? Did Daryl? No, 4 women had gone to Iraq, who were Peaceful Tomorrows members. A group previously had gone soon after September 11th to Afghanistan, and that was in the news. I had actually heard about it after the fact, and those same people were involved in the inception of Peaceful Tomorrows. And the group has slowly and quietly grown. More members have joined as they hear about our group because they're looking for people of like mind, who don't find any solace in vengeance and retribution.
Mm-hmm. And the organization just recently put out a book called September 11th Families for Peaceful Tomorrows, Turning Our Grief into Action for Peace. And I've been reading it, and I'm only about maybe a quarter or a third of the way through, but it is interesting to read too how people sort of did come together, and it was over time, and it was almost by chance in a way. Sometimes, like you said, a friend might say to you, "Have you heard of a group?" Or somebody might have seen something on the internet or an article somebody wrote. Mm-hmm. And gradually people sort of came together. And I think I was impressed too, always with a sensitivity to other people, because everybody's at a different spot for their, in their grief, in their handling of what happened. And they haven't really gone out to get members in.
No.
But it's just, they're there, and somehow the word gets out to people, like I say, people of like mind. And one thing that you had said to me before the show when we were talking was that it's a group of people that would not necessarily get together for any other reason.
We wouldn't know each other had it not been for the circumstances. And everyone I've met through Peaceful Tomorrows has been just the most kind, gentle, easy to be with person. And we are all of like mind. You know, we really would rather see peaceful means or actions come out of the events. There is a wish to separate ourselves from the use of the deaths of our family members as an excuse for war or retaliation. I was amazed on September 11th that our children who were scattered across the country, and we didn't manage to get together until 5 days later because of planes not flying, and so there was a lot of telephoning, but it was hard to make those telephone calls. But there was never anger. And I'm still amazed at that. And there are two things that happened for us. One is very personal, and the other is how it happened, and therefore very public. And I think for all the families of September 11th victims, there is this, and for me there's always a struggle of what's my responsibility, because I know that if I make a statement, it might be the same thing someone else or 100 other people might say, but it might be listened to only because of the circumstances, which sometimes feels like a huge responsibility, you know. And then I say, what is it I want to say? What is it that's going to make a difference? A difference in a way that I think is going to be productive in terms of peace in this world. So it's nice to have this group who hold each other up, you know.
That is, because you have a shared tragedy, so that, I mean, even friends that haven't shared that didn't lose a lot, they can give you support, I would imagine, to a certain point, but it really makes a difference when somebody the same type of thing happened to them, I would imagine, and then finding...
Right, and you don't need to explain.
Mm-hmm.
It's, all of that is unnecessary. Mm-hmm. Our friends are of like mind. The kids are, and makes me very proud of them. My daughter stood up at the memorial service, which was on the 21st of September. The university, my husband taught cultural geography at UNH for 35 years and had just retired the year before. And my daughter, who was 30 at the time, said, "I know my dad would not want anyone else to die because of this." And I was so impressed that she could do that, you know. And it's true. It's true.
And I think this often comes through too. I think in reading the book and looking at why people are doing it, because more than once in here and this little, we're going to watch a videotape in a few minutes that people are talking like, you know, we hear the term collateral damage when we go over and bomb a country, and we'll see in the film that someone says, you know, my husband was, or my brother was collateral damage. I don't want anybody else to be collateral damage because of the pain and suffering. One thing that people did do is I think a small group went over to Afghanistan because several months later, because they wanted to share with people and tell them, you know, they wanted to support them too. and share in that. And they also, the group has also worked, I think, to make sure that there's money that goes from this country to help the people that so-called collateral damage, those whose homes and families were destroyed, and they made a difference. Why don't we now turn to that? There's a 15-minute film put together by Peaceful Tomorrow's organization that talks about the group, and we'll see a little bit about from the visit to Afghanistan and get a picture of why people were there, why they made that trip. It was not a comfortable trip in many ways. I think emotionally, physical safety, physical comfort, but it was important.